Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternatively, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Please welcome our club president, DTM, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Carolyn, and welcome to all the members. It's very exciting to see all our guests here, and I have to thank David and others that were putting all this information into Facebook and other social media sites to drive traffic to our club. And so very excited about that. If you're interested in your future in learning from a very accomplished Vice President of Public Relations, David and others in our club can help you in that regard. Right now, as we are all looking at the end of the Toastmasters year, we're looking at about 33 days, I believe, 33, 32 days left to the year. And everybody's looking to complete their past, complete their accomplishments for their clubs. We're no different from that. We're looking at doing all of those things and helping our members succeed in what they're doing. We have elections in place, and we'll be doing the new members coming up very shortly. But even that, the new members are going to be taking place. We want to remind everybody that there will be club officer training and TLIs, and we tend to go to other districts to get that done. June 17th, districts 47 and 48 are both holding TLIs and COTs. So please make sure that when you go to those districts or any of the other 124 districts that are out there, make sure to register your name and let them know to submit it to Toastmasters International so that we get credit for your training. Back to you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Andy. Today we have a wonderful meeting, even though we have a holiday in the US. Please welcome our Toastmaster of the Day, David Carr.
Thank you, Carolina. It is always a pleasure to be Toastmaster of the Day at this club. And I'm proud of all of you and proud of the club itself. Andy actually mentioned tip of the day, and I'm going to take a moment to do that before we get too involved with our meeting. We do have a timer, which is Marina's very nicely volunteered to do timer. Actually, could I ask you, Marina, if you do you know how to do the hand raise? If you click under reactions, there's a little hand raise button. You click that, that'll keep your video in sight so everybody can see the timer. We used to do it a fancier way. We're trying to find a simpler way. And speaking of fancy and simple, I want to do a tip of the day on a simple technique that I think that people could do better at, which is when you are sharing your screen or sharing PowerPoint. I'm not talking about anything fancy about using the Zoom feature for PowerPoint in the background, but just sharing your screen, going in and out of that mode. And the first thing that you want to do is make sure you are prepared before you were introduced to speak. So that means going into PowerPoint, putting it into slideshow mode where you're sharing your slides so that when you first start to share your screen, people aren't seeing sort of the behind the scenes authoring environment of PowerPoint. You want them to be seeing what you would be showing on screen if you were together in a room. And you want to have that all fired up and ready to go. And one thing that I talk about is, now this is just a screen capture of another meeting. What I'm trying to show you here is that you can be talking, but have this screen up and ready to go. So this is the Zoom screen sharing dialog. It gives you the option to share your whole screen, or you can pick a particular application. I usually share my whole screen, but if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that the PowerPoint is the next thing in the background, the next thing that's hidden behind your Zoom screen. So as soon as you click start to share, that's what's going to come on screen. And just because I tried to explain this to another group and they told me I went through it too quickly. So I'm just going to take a moment for a little video demo of you warm it up, you get it ready, you talk to people a little bit, you start screen sharing, and then you're going to click on that button that says stop share. Then you can go back, you can talk to people a little bit more and potentially do it again. Now this screen does have a few other options. An important one, if you're ever sharing a video and you want people to hear what's going on in the video, you want to click that little box that says share sound before you do your screen sharing. So just some real basics, but something that is important. And I still see people who've been in this club for years futzing with, oh, gee, I'm sorry. Oh, I can't find that screen. So if you can get out of that mode, you're going to make a better and stronger impression. So with that, I cannot do this job without some helpers. We have our timer who has been, see, I think I was supposed to tell you to time me, but that's all right. Anyways, how would you time, for example, any segment of the meeting? Can you explain it to us what the timer's role is and how you will be performing it today? Marinas.
Hello, this is the first time that I'm doing this in English. So thank you for the opportunity. As a timer, I will time, supposedly I will time the whole meeting. Right now we are good because we started at 7:45 talking, and right now we are almost on time. We are a little ahead or behind schedule. We were supposed to, no, it's okay. No, we are a little late. I'm sorry, Dave.
Okay.
We are a little late.
Okay.
For the speeches, 10 to 12 minutes, I will time 10 minutes on the green flag, 11 on the yellow, and 12 on the red. You will have 30 seconds to finish. On the 5 to 7, 5 on the green, 6 on the yellow, 7 on the red, 30 seconds to finish. And on table topics, if I'm not mistaken, the green's going to be on the first minute, then 1:30 yellow, and then 2 minutes the red, and you'll only have 15 seconds to finish.
Oh, I guess we've already done it as 30 seconds to finish.
30
but,
seconds? Okay, perfect. Then 30 seconds.
So we let people run the red light a little bit longer.
Okay.
I don't
And
know.
then
I don't know.
for-
I don't know whether it's actually in the roles, but that's the way we do it.
Okay.
Let's
So
see.
1 minute on the reports you want?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we can loosen it up if we're ahead of time, but often we're pushing it. Our next helper, gee, I tried to get away without having an eye counter, but Cristobal stepped in and volunteered. Can you tell us a little bit about the function of the eye counter, Cristobal?
Well, this is my first time doing it, in English, and I think that the las muletillas, the as in English are different. So I'm trying to do my best. I will count any sound, any words that you repeat that doesn't benefit your speech, that becomes just a filler word. Instead of being quiet, you start repeating words or something like that. So at the end of the meeting, I'm gonna present you a report on that. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And our grammarian, I think Virginia, was it you that we drafted to be grammarian? Oh, you're muted.
I apologize. I'll be doing the word of the day. The grammarian gives you a word, gives you the meaning, and gives you an example of how the word is used in a sentence. Thank you.
Okay. And the word for today was valor.
Oh, what? I already have a word, glossophobia.
Okay. All right, we can do that.
Okay. You want me to write it in the chat?
You could add it in the chat. Do you want to use it in a sentence just to give
Yes.
people understanding? Do you want to do that out loud as well as putting it in the chat?
Oh, okay. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. And
Okay.
the sentence is Prince Harry, as 75% of the people have glossophobia, the fear of public speaking.
Right.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Let's see. Did we wind up with a watcher for today? I don't know if anybody took that role.
I took that role. David.
Could you explain to us why we have a watcher?
Oh, I suppose I could do that. Hi, everybody. As the watcher this evening, I am what you might call the visual grammarian. I will be noting everybody's lighting, use of the visual frame, the overall visual presence, backgrounds, and that sort of thing. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Wonderful. Carolina, I believe you volunteered to be both chat monitor and vote counter. Is that correct?
That is correct, David. My role as vote counter is to count the votes for your favorite prepared speaker, impromptu speaker, and evaluator. I will put a link in the chat and you will click that link and vote for your favorite. And I will be keeping track of the chat. And at the end of the meeting, I will give you my report with the highlights I can read in the chat. Back to you, David.
All right. Very wonderful. Let us move on to our first speech. Our first speaker today is Joni-Renee Laidlaw. She's going to be doing presentation mastery level 5, demonstrating expertise. Reflect on your path. And Joni has had me involved in a DTM project as an advisor. She has done some amazing things. She's gone above and beyond the call to duty, in my opinion. And we're going to hear a little bit about it from Joni Laidlaw right now. Joni? Her title is Enjoy the Show for 10 to 12 minutes.
Have you ever heard the phrase, the show must go on? I'm beginning to believe that, yes, today is a good example of the show must go on. What did I learn from my presentation mastery journey? Firstly, has anyone ever seen that video where Eddie Murphy was standing on stage and he was in his brief and he said, I wasn't ready, but the show had to go on? I feel that way today. Why do I have the confidence to have not gone David, I think today might be the kind of day that I have to postpone my speech. Instead, I decided there's always a plan B and another way. It came from doing this path. Now, on level 1, we all start out in the same way. I have done. Jim, I think I caught your speech title from the humorous speech contest. I've lost track. I think it's 8 or 9. I've gone through that so many times that by the time I hit level 1 again for the 4th time, and people would ask, why do we have to redo it if we do it all the time? When you hit the 6th time around, you realize you never give the same icebreaker 6 times. You never give the same second speech 7 times. You never give that writing a speech with purpose. As per usual in my presentation, there's a tangent, so I have to add some context. See, if my world got flipped upside down by Toastmasters somewhere during the start of this or the other path I was doing simultaneously. See, before it was the old way. We had a certain way we expected it to go, and all of a sudden, I wasn't ready, but the show must go on. We had a brand new path portfolio and a brand new way to do it. Fortunately, I got to do that not once, but twice to make 7, 8, or 8 and 9. Again, I've completely lost count. But it gave me the opportunity to do it in a completely different way. Presentation mastery, however, by the time I got to level 2, made me quite dependent on slides. Let me explain the slide that I did today. I learned how to use Canva. So I had this amazing slide and it said loading and there were things floating all around the screen and I had a cameo and I was in the center. And then it all crashed. It made me understand my communication style. My communication style is very open and honest. Most people would say I'm a direct communicator, but to be honest, I'm not, because I found that by the time I hit doing this project the 6th time, I gained some decorum. Now, this is not something I believe someone like me could ever have because I have chronic foot in mouth disease. For those of you who don't know what that is the tendency to get your foot so intricately inserted in your mouth that you went, did I really just say that? By the time I got to understanding my communication style in level 2, I had found a way, a crowbar, a wrench, I'm not sure of the tool, to rip that foot directly out of my mouth and at least grant me the opportunity to be able to communicate in a more demure and focused manner. Next, I did the effective body language. Now, when it comes to effective body language, I always flutter. When I'm excited, I go really, really fast and I started to flutter. Udley came along. Udley gave me the opportunity to repeatedly present. And what did that cause? It caused me to understand that your movements and your body language, though distracting, may serve a purpose depending on the audience that you are speaking to. Because some people like knowing that some of us like to flutter when we're excited, but most of the time it can be quite distracting. And it's good to learn to be poignant with your gestures when you consider that others are watching. Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring is always one of my favorite things to discuss. I mean, after all, my mentor is going to have to take me down quite a few notches and we'll hear the full gauntlet of, but it was great. I had quotes from Canva. I had everything all prepared. And can you imagine, I stood there without my presentation for presentation mastery. It helps to have someone to guide you through those moments, to help you understand that it's about the journey, not necessarily the one thing that actually occurred. Now on to persuasive speaking, which was where I ended up at level 3. Since I do not have the ability to demonstrate via slide how amazing my presentation skills are, it will make me demonstrate my level 3 persuasive speaking project. Let's see how well I did and how much I learned. Let me paint the picture for you. Slowly the words cascade across the screen. Loading soon. Then you saw an intricate quote from Vincent van Gogh, quotes and all, with something quite philosophical for everyone to understand that design is important. Design is a way of life. Some of us who have used Canva have seen this one quite a lot, and I absolutely love it. It says, presentation is not about getting what you can add. Perfection occurs when there is nothing left to remove. Apparently, I have attained perfection because as it stands now, I have nothing to remove if I don't have my presentation, which means I have attained. The colors blended into my background, the purples, the blues, all of which have come to be my favorite. But not to be undone, because I found a way to make the moment of silence noisy. All of the things which permeated through my brain would cascade across the screen, and there was even a pulsating brain to demonstrate the effect of what it's like in my head with everything moving all around. Can we envision it? Did it ensure that persuasive speaking and doing that path allowed me to persuade you to the glory of the presentation, that you're not actually here to visually view, but you can with your mind's eye if you pause and just imagine for a moment. When it came to my electives for level 3, I would be honest that I did go with what was available. I was a Udly ambassador. Toastmasters, this is really important. Never do a speech for free. If you have to give the speech, there is a path for everything. So when I was told, hey, you have 5 to 7 minutes to introduce Udly, well, I took advantage. I mean, after all, I do actually have a PowerPoint and software for that. So I got the opportunity to utilize my software and presentation skills. My level 4 was actually one of the favorite parts, and how come I ended up enjoying the show. I've always enjoyed being the contest chair at a Toastmasters contest. The reason for that, though, I realized was not so much that I like to present, but that I like to put on a show. I like to have a theme across everything. Now, when you look at organizations and how they do presentations, I could not appreciate Toastmasters and the intricate nature. Foot and mouth disease rears its ugly head. Let me put that demure communication style to work. I was never a fan of the brand manual. I could not understand why Toastmasters overall could be such a stickler for colors. I mean, after all, we're all different, experiencing different things, amateurs and creating. And it was not until level 4, where I did have to put on that show, that I understood why continuity and brand integrity mattered. It helped when I was doing the moment of silence, that it coincided with the promotional material. It did match the introduction. It wasn't a bunch of arbitrary things just thrown together. It told a story which allowed it to flow. It gave it an identifying marker. That was something I did not understand and learned in my presentation mastery project. Why do we hold true to brand loyalty? Because when people look at it, that's what it is, and it automatically makes an emotional, if not just an intellectual connection with the path that you are headed. For level 5, that actually went very easily, again, because of Udly. I had to prepare to speak professionally. Did I mention foot in mouth disease? Not only did I have to speak for 20 minutes, I had to speak for 20 minutes, ensuring that my feet remained firmly planted on the ground. No wings flapped, but I was able to present. I will admit, it made me even more dependent on my slides and making an overall presentation to assist in how we go. Today, however, I did learn that after doing it for 8 times, it helps because I wasn't ready. But the show went on, and I do hope that we all enjoyed the show. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
You, Joni. Joni and her pulsating brain. All right. We are ready for speaker number 2. Antoinette Trim is doing Visionary Communication Level 3, Increasing Knowledge, Connect with Storytelling. And her title is 1.5 Hours in a Submarine. Toastmasters, she says, continues to provide us with countless opportunities to improve, not only in leadership and presentation skills, but also other skills necessary for our personal lives. She has a quote she asked me to share. The more you do something, the easier it gets. Don't expect it to get easier if you're not putting in the time and energy to make that happen. How true is that statement? So if you find that I am in your face, she says, don't get angry with me. I am just trying to be proficient. Antoinette Trim.
Good evening, Toastmaster of the day and my fellow Toastmasters. It was a bright, sunny day in Barbados with blue skies, punctuated with white clouds. I was pumped up to go on a journey with some reservations though. That was a trip beneath the ocean, 150 feet deep. Could you imagine? Before I decided to go on that trip, I mentioned it to my colleagues at the hotel. They said, Antoinette, you crazy. You're a very adventurous woman. I didn't pay them any mind because I wanted to experience that. After arriving at the office of Atlantis Submarine, I paid for the trip. They told me to have a seat in the holding bay along with other guests. No sooner we were shuffled onto a catamaran to be taken out into the ocean. I must say I had mixed emotions of fear, anxiety, yet I was extremely happy to go. We finally arrived near the submarine, which was named Atlantis. We were briefed on how to go down the hatch. We mimicked going down a ladder. When we arrived in the submarine, the seating arrangements were somewhat weird for me because we were seated in such a way of leaning on one another's backs. I didn't know about the person that I was needing my back on. Anyway, those feelings quickly floated away. Again, we were given some more briefings, and I liked the idea of the captain and the crew, making sure that communications channel remained open between the submarine and the catamaran, and of course, those on land. The submarine as well was also equipped with a digital device on board, displaying the distance we covered in descending. Of course, these days, every one of us would have been equipped with a cell phone. We took a lot of pictures and videos and so forth. I must say the plant life underneath the ocean, gorgeous. There were various fishes, different strains of corals, and turtles. It's very unique for me. At the 150 feet mark, the captain mentioned that the insurance could have only covered us for 150 feet and no more. And at that point, there was a sunken ship. Of course, it was rusting by now, and it attracted a lot of other plant life. When we reached there at the 150 feet mark, we had to ascend. The entire trip took only 1.5 hours, but to me, it took just 30 minutes. The catamaran was right there waiting for us to return us to shore. By then, the sea got very choppy. Nevertheless, it made us safely to land. But what was rather fascinating for me, when we got on shore and in the office of Atlantis Submarine, they greeted us with a certificate with our names on it. I was so excited. I decided to call my husband and say, would you believe, and he's back in Tobago, right? Would you believe I am a certified diver? Well, of course, we laughed and so on about it. And as I speak right now, my certificate is displayed in my living room. All in all, it was an amazing experience. And I will encourage anyone and everyone, when next you visit Barbados, please take a trip on Atlantis Submarine. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
All right. Thank you, Antoinette. May we have a timers report, please?
Both speakers, we couldn't notice any glossophobia, and they had valor, right? That's how you say it, right?
Yeah.
Both were perfect with their timing.
All right, terrific. That means you'll be able to vote for either speaker and look for posting in the chat in a moment with the link to vote. While we're waiting for that, let's get warmed up for table topics. Our topics master for today will be our club president, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, David. And I'm going to call the timer to let everyone know the time bracket for this segment of our meeting. Could you share with everybody the time for this?
For each speaker, the time will be from 1 to 2 minutes. The green flag will be raised at the first minute, yellow, 1.5 minutes, red at the 2-minute mark, and then 30 seconds to close your speech.
Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some visual cues and ask you some questions. So the first visual cue is this. And this is from a church in the UK. I recently did a three-week tour, British Isles, Ireland, Scotland, UK, and we came at the worst possible time because we came during the coronation. To tell you what that means is that the UK does not have rules like the United States that you can't overcharge people during certain circumstances, like during hurricanes. UK, they don't have those rules. So when the coronation took place, a $700 ticket from the US to UK went up to $10,000, just to give you an idea. But this is the interesting part of our trip, was as we went from neighborhood to neighborhood, we had a mixture of the very old with the very new, side by side on the same block. This is an example of St. Patrick's Cathedral and how you had different patrons of the building of that cathedral having statues of themselves and information. But during this cruise, they came up with some interesting information. And what did we learn? We learned that cheesecake has now taken over as the #1 dessert on the cruise. It's the strawberry cheesecake. So my question to guest Virginia is, what is your favorite dessert? And why?
Thank you, Table Topics Master. My favorite cheesecake, I go to Junior's in Brooklyn just for cheesecake. I have, it's, first of all, the way to make it is smooth. It has a texture where it melts right in your mouth. And I savor all this. I enjoy it, and it gives me a pleasant, quiet taste in my mouth. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay. This is for Graham. Even though he's an evaluator, he's part of the Commonwealth. And during the coronation of King Charles, everywhere you went, it was posted on the television. It was posted in every window of every shop, the different things that were going on. How did you view the coronation in Australia, Graham?
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as a dyed-in-the-wool dedicated Republican, that is, somebody who believes that Australia should be a republic, not a member of the right-wing party in the United States, as a dedicated dyed-in-the-wool Republican, I viewed the coronation with my eyes closed. That is, I somehow managed to avoid seeing any of the coronation. I somehow managed to avoid seeing any of the pomp or the circumstance or the, quite frankly, bloated bureaucracy that is the royalty. I'm not a firm believer in having a royal, well, having a king of Australia, for example. It's just one of those things. But I want to talk rather about something that you haven't asked. You spoke about the old versus the new. Let me give you something that I saw when I was in England a few years ago. We went into one of those churches that you spoke about. And in this church, tiny little church in a tiny little village called Avebury, somewhere near Stonehenge, they had a baptismal font, that is a plinth on top of in which children were baptized. And they had been doing that since somewhere in the 10th century. There is nowhere in my entire country where there is built infrastructure more than 250 years old. There is simply none. the indigenous people of Australia certainly had a culture, but they didn't leave built infrastructure behind. And so nothing here is more than 250, 300 years old. There you have the same freaking bit of stone that's been used to baptize children for more than 1,000 years. That's the sort of pomp and circumstance that I celebrate, not spoiled royals who really have nothing to do with my country. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much. As I traveled along, some people will recognize this as a bridge in Paris. And you can see the statues. The placard on that was 1873 in Alexander. And in the background, on another view, you can actually see the Eiffel Tower. So if you were going to go to Paris, what would you want to see there? We had the opportunity of seeing the Eiffel Tower, the bridge, River Seine. We saw the Louvre and many other sites. Cristobal Colon, if you went to Paris, what would be on your list of seeing?
Last November, my wife was, I'm not going to say the number, but it was her birthday. And our daughter was her 25th birthday. And as a birthday gift for herself, we went to Spain and then to Paris. She normally does all the arrangements for the trips, and she did the reservations for the Eiffel Tower trip. We were planning to go on that day and having an amazing time. I even bought a brand new camera with a super zoom lens, where I can take great pictures from the top of the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. So when we show up that day to the Eiffel Tower, there's a transportation strike. It was very difficult to get there, and the tower was closed because almost no employees showed up that day to work. So if I'll go back to Eiffel Tower, I would like to go back and go upstairs. Thank you very much.
Okay. Here's a quote, Venice, that I'd like your comment on. We cannot become what we need by remaining what we are. How does that relate to your life and what you're planning on doing in the future?
Thank you for that question, Mr. President and Table Topics Master. We cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. What are we? We're Toastmasters. What are we? We are learning in a journey. How does this relate to me? I cannot be who I used to be when I had glossophobia, when I had the fear of public speaking, when I was scared to speak to someone, when you talk to them in the street, when you present at a meeting. I want to be who I want to become. And how do I do that? I do that by, as mentioned in this meeting, by practice, by learning, by surrounding yourself with mentors, with people that have gone before you. For my Spanish-speaking people, I would say, when you are becoming who you want to be, no te rindes. For my English-speaking people, that means when you're becoming what you want to be, do not give up. Back to you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you very much. And for those that have multiple languages and they look at the United States, I just want to show you a picture of this individual. Do you know who that is? I'm going to do another picture. This picture is Justice Sotomayor of the Supreme Court. Okay. And these pictures are relevant for me personally because this is my son who served as a Supreme Court clerk, and these are his twin daughters. and they were interacting with the justice. Now, the interesting thing is when he did his Supreme Court clerkship, there were 4 clerks to Sotomayor. And they came back on the 15th anniversary, and this is the progeny of those people. So you had a whole bunch of people that were getting very busy over that period of time. But that wasn't the thing I wanted to focus in on. Let me focus in on this. This is a quotation from Theodore Roosevelt. And it says, "It is hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried to succeed." Thinking about that, I want to ask one of our people, Toru, tell me about this quotation and what relevance it has for you in valor and in glossophobia.
Excuse me. Can you repeat your question in a simple way?
Yes, this quotation from Theodore Roosevelt says, "It is hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried to succeed." In other words, by not even trying to succeed, that's a failure. But if you try, there's value in that. So even though, understand?
Yeah, I can understand the lesson of what he said as his life present this very energetic president of the United States tried everything he could, such as the coordination between the Japan and Russia in terms of Japan-Russia war. And he has the right to say that, because what he did was everything is positive if he tried, even he failed. So, but when it comes to the action, it is easier said than done. But every time, in every occasion, I'm not necessarily ventured to challenge because of the fear, because of the reluctance, because of the losing timing and so on. So I'd like to learn from those energetic, a powerful person like Roosevelt, that I will challenge those things. It might seem impossible sometimes in the future. Thank you.
Fantastic. This is going to Joni. Where were you when you saw a sunset that seemed to be fantastic, that you will always remember? This one happens to be off of Scotland on the ship from my balcony. But where did you have the most amazing sunset that impressed you? And why?
I might be a digital nomad, but the physical Joni tends to stay in one place. The best sunset I ever saw, though, wasn't just a sunset. I'll lay the scene for you. We were at the beach. We had spent the whole day drinking. I don't think that's why the rest of this story went that way, but it's important for context. We were out all day in the sun, lounging. You know that feeling when you get when you've been in the waves, just floating? It was a good day. Somewhere around sunset, as the sun began to set off the coast of Portmore in Jamaica, there was a flying fish. Now, just at that moment, a fish chose to jump out of the water, cascade over, and fall to the other side. I had to tell everybody this was the most amazing, majestic thing I have ever seen. The retort, however, was, we've been drinking all day. I mean, the concept of a flying fish off the coast of Portmore is not exactly something that occurs all the time. But I can tell you, the combination of the sunset on the water as that fish just jumped out and just slowly cascaded over will be etched in my memory for the rest of my life. Mostly because for me, it was a sunset designed just for me, even if only by Ray and his nephews. Back to you, or Toastmaster of the day, or Table Topics Master. Claustrophobia right there.
Okay, I'm sharing this picture for my next question to Karthik. I'm destroying your name, I apologize. Karthikika Devi. This is a picture when I was in Ireland. And if you look carefully at this guy over here, he is playing an Irish equivalent of bagpipe that you see in Scotland. The difference between this instrument, which is called the ukulele, versus the bagpipe of Scotland, is that in the bagpipe, they're both reed instruments. In the bagpipe, you blow into a canister or down one of the pipes, fill up the bagpipe, and then press the bagpipe for providing air to the reeded instruments on the bagpipe. In the ukulele, they have almost a bellows. You can think of it like a blacksmith bellows for fire. And that's what they use to keep the air. And there's a different sound between the ukulele in Ireland and the bagpipe in Scotland. So this is for you. In India, they have many instruments that are not commonplace in the United States. What's your favorite one in India?
Okay. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. It's wonderful to speak about music, which is one of the fascinating things for me. And if I have to speak about something that fascinates me or something that persuades me and makes me calm, is the veena. Veena is a traditional instrument of India where the notes, pitch, and tone are made to give out a melodic tone. And one another instruments that is made or that is available internationally and it is popularized is the saxophone. Just like you spoke about bagpiper, where I have seen only in pictures, but not otherwise, saxophone makes me to give or gives me an sense of solitude, as well as to have myself to be under rest when the note or the tremor that is slightly jazz-based gives out a melodical tone, as well as takes me down to a calming nature or to a calming environment. This is my most wanted, or I would say the most important thing for me everyday night, that also helps me to rewire my brain and also to give yourself a sense of transclusivity and solitudity. And back to you, Toastmaster.
Wonderful, wonderful. The next is this quotation. Okay. And this one goes to our founder, David Carr. The only thing I'm committed to, and we have 2 more minutes according to my clock, so this is the last one. The only thing I'm committed to right now is bettering myself. How does that apply to Toastmasters in general? And you in particular?
Does that apply to Toastmasters in general? Well, certainly it is one of the great things about this organization is that this is where we come together and try and improve ourselves with the support of our peers. We get to take some pratfalls from time to time. For the non-English speakers, pratfall is like a comic thing, slipping on a banana peel. If you don't know the idiom, but this is the place where we come to practice and perfect things. Yeah, I don't know whether, I guess bettering myself is something that I'm trying to do. I don't know if I'm doing a terribly good job of it. I have this obsession with the software project for the software that runs our website and some other folks' websites. And there was like this one little detail that somebody complained that the email forwarding feature wasn't working quite the way they expected it to. And so the whole drive back from dropping my daughter off after picking her up from college, the whole drive back, I was thinking about this in my head. And I get home and I think that I've got it solved. And I've got it 90% solved. But for somehow the other 10% took me all day today to figure out. So there is something where I am trying to better myself, but I'm also trying to better something that I can share with other people. And I think we can all be doing that in terms of how we educate and mentor other people. Think of ways that you can improve yourself. Think of ways that you can share that improvement with the world as best you can. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much. And if we can get a timers report, did everyone meet criteria?
All the speakers were on time. The only one that was off was Virginia, our guest. But I think that was my fault because I didn't tell everybody that you should at least be 45 seconds into the speech to qualify for the correct timing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, let's let folks
she-
vote on all the speakers.
All right, Caroline will take care
Perfect.
of the voting for all the speakers. And I turn this over now to the next segment, which is also a very important segment. And I turn it back to our Toastmaster of the day, David.
Okay. Next up, we have the evaluation portion of our meeting, which will be led by our general evaluator. Today is Toru.
Thank you for your introduction. Toastmaster of the day, David Clark. I am Toru Mariyama. I will conduct the evaluation session as the general evaluator today. General evaluator's job is to make a total assessment of the meeting with the special attention to the evaluation for the prepared speeches. Today, we have two fine evaluators. The first evaluator is Toastmaster Karthika Devi Venkataram. Forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Who is going to evaluate Toastmaster Joni-Renee Laidlaw's speech. Are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay, let's listen to what she has to say.
Thank you, Toastmaster Toru, and honored to be here with fellow Toastmasters who are DTMs and highly experienced. I would like to start my evaluation with Yoni. I love the way that she started with a saying like, the show must go on. Yes, the show must go on, whatever might be the case. She has ready with a writing or speech for the purpose that she wanted to do. The context of her speech was well written and well spoken with confidence, clarity, and there might be some level of eye contact with the guests that might would have improved. Else, the purpose and the way and the information that she has learned from the Toastmasters of each level was thoroughly reflected. In level 2, where she has shown a progressive growth and experience starting from the communication and crashing, that went into my head, and I think that's quite good in the way that she narrated. Becoming cautious of the watchers and the mentioning of the mentors is also quite good. What I tried to give her as a suggestion is like the feedback from maybe not the mentors, but from the peer speakers as well as the evaluators might have added more value in the evaluation and the reflection that you have done today. Your speech was persuading. You had a flashing enthusiasm in the way that you have presented. The online visuals and cues might have been slightly improved. The divided screen was the one which was hindrance. And apart from that, I see you are blasting as usual.
Thank you very much for your evaluation. Second evaluator is Toastmaster Jim Barber, who is going to evaluate Toastmaster Antoinette Trim's speech. Are you all set?
I am indeed, Mr. General Evaluator.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Mr. General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, and of course, Antoinette Trim. Antoinette, you are always a joy to listen to, and tonight was no exception. But this was a little bit different speech than most of the speeches that you've given. You've done a nice job on the other speeches, but this one, you told us a story. It was a description of an event that you had gone through, but you gave it in a story fashion you set the intrigue at the beginning. We weren't sure what we were going to experience. Then you described the experience to us and you brought it home to a logical conclusion. Very well done all the way through. Your eye contact with the camera was great. You've had a problem with that in the past. Not a problem tonight. That worked very, very well. You smiled. I always like that. You smiled. You enjoyed yourself. If you're enjoying yourself, we're going to enjoy listening to you. Your vocal variety course is always fine, and it was doing great tonight. Not a problem at all. You ended, oh, I love it. You ended with a call to action. You didn't just describe what a good time you had on the submarine, but you challenged us to go on the submarine too, the next opportunity that came along. And when you finished with the call to action, you paused. I loved that. That was so nice. You paused before turning it back to the Toastmaster. That's so well done. Couple of suggestions for you. The first, let's see if I can pull it up here. There we go. There's something a little odd about your lighting. Is that showing up? Yeah, okay. Something a little odd about the lighting. The lighting is lighting the upper part of your face, but not the lower part of your face. And it's doing it right now. And some reposition, it's a little distracting. So if you can reposition the lighting a little bit, the upper part of your face is well lit. It's not a problem at all. Just adjust the lights a little bit so that we can see your entire face. And the other thing, this is a little thing, but since you did such a great job of telling the story, in the story, you described what the captain said. Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing this. I would really like you to take on, as I just did, the captain's voice. And rather than saying what the captain said, say the captain said, ladies and gentlemen, and lower your voice a little bit, speak a little bit slower, and speak like you are the captain. And that would make it even more of a story, and that would involve us in the story a little bit better. But this was a great story. I'm looking forward to going on a submarine, and I'm looking forward to your next presentation. Madam General Evaluator, Mr. General Evaluator.
Muted, Toro.
Thank you very much for your very, very energetic evaluation. Now, I'd like to hear timer's report. Toastmaster Marines Riviera.
Both speakers on time.
Okay, thank you. Please vote for the best evaluator by way of chat to the vote counter, Toastmaster Carolina Ramirez. And in the meantime, we are going to hear from the reports of the roll takers, beginning from Wacha. Toastmaster Jim Baba, are you all right? Can you do that right now?
I can do anything, Mr. General Evaluator. Let's see. As
Okay,
the watcher this evening, we all did a great job, of course, as I expect from such an experienced club. Couple of comments. Let's see if I can pull it up. There we are. Carolina, you weren't speaking, but during the meeting, you settled a little bit at the beginning, towards the middle of the meeting, and you couldn't see your head that well. Just sit up a little bit closer. And I've already talked about Antoinette's odd lighting. Other than that, everybody was well lit. Everybody was well positioned in the video frame. Everybody has great backgrounds. Everybody did good, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. So let's turn to chat monitor, Toastmaster Carolina Ramirez.
Thank you, Toru. I have some highlights. Andy shared a pic of us at the beginning, and Graham shared an article that he wrote in his blog about fear words. It's very interesting. I could read a little bit of it. And Kirtika had some problems with her Zoom screen. And that's my report. Back to you, Toru.
Thank you. So let's listen to grammarian Toastmaster Virginia Hernandez. Thank you for your taking sudden assignment. Please. You are mute.
I did the word of the day, and I was so intrigued with everything that was going on. I did not listen to any of the words that were repeated. The word of the day is glossophobia. The word of the day is glossophobia. The meaning is fear of public speaking. And the sentence that I found was Prince Harry, at 75% of people, they're scared to speak in the public. That's glossophobia. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Toastmaster Virginia Hernandez, for your contribution. All right. Let's listen to our counter's report. Toastmaster Cristobal Cotton, please.
Thank you, General Evaluator. I remember when I was a little kid, sometime some two guys from my hometown who were baseball players, big league baseball players, they visited our school. And I was so amazed with these guys, famous baseball players. And they were started speaking, they were using muletillas or crutches or in English. And I was so amazed. That sounded so nice as in English, but that muletilla, that crutch it was only used once today. The sound, it was used 17 times. Adding the sound at the end of a word, then it was used 9 times. Repeating the same word like I, and it was used 7 times, and coughing while you were speaking, it happened 3 times. That's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I understand that you reported the total number of those followers, right? Not individual. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. So let me have a general evaluation of this meeting. It was very good that we could complete the meeting with minimum participants, with the courageous actions such as the Toastmasters of the day, David Carr, taking the double role, the tip of the day, evaluated Jim Baba, taking the role of watcher at the same time, Carolina Ramirez taking the role of chat monitor, and especially those guests accepting Saturn assignment as the grammarian, the timer, and our counter. That's amazing. Thank you all very much for your valuable contribution, without which I'm sure this meeting was possible. It was well done because the cooperation of the members and guests, I believe, produced very fruitful meeting today. And that's all I have to say, but I think I want to say one thing about the table topic. It might be better for table topic master to produce a little more concise and simple question before asking question. And that's all I have to say. I'll get back my control back to the Toastmaster of the day, David Carr.
Right. Thank you so much, Toru Maruyama. All right. And as Toru said, we very much thank all the guests who stepped up and were brave today, whether it's participating in table topics or taking on an actual role. I'm going to want to say a couple of words in a few moments to try and hustle up some signups for roles for next week. But let me turn it first back to our president, Andrew Byrne, and maybe Andy, you can ask for comments from the guests.
Exactly what we plan on doing. One of the things that we look forward to is to see the guest experience, to make sure that we're providing a great guest experience. And the only way we know that is if we get feedback from you. So I'm going to go around our guests and ask them, compared to other meetings you've gone to or held yourself, what did you see differently about our meeting and why would you recommend it to others? I'll start off with Marinas.
Just because my hand is raised. I loved it. This is like my first, no, my third maybe, my first virtual completely English. So, like first time, second time. And I loved it because even though I was timer, I was not nervous, and I could listen to everything and I didn't feel anxious, even though I was monitoring the timer. Thank you for the speeches and thank you for the topics. It was an experience. And to see all of you from different places of the world, I feel like I am everywhere that you are. So thank you.
Thank you, and we hope to see you next week. Next guest that we have the pleasure of having is Virginia Hernandez. Tell us your experience and share with us.
Thank you, Table Doc. I want to say thank you. It's really an experience when everybody comes together and work together. It means a lot. You want to get something across precisely, neatly, and clearly. And that's what I got out of this. I truly appreciate the time I spent looking at Toastmasters today. Thank you again.
Thank you for your visit here today, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Venice, tell us about your experience.
Thank you for having me here this evening. I really enjoyed this meeting. I felt that it was very well organized. There are so many favorite parts. I can't say one favorite part. I thoroughly enjoyed the very interactive speeches, the expert evaluations. I felt that I learned so much just by being here for my first time, and the themed and very interesting table topics. I enjoy the diversity in this meeting, and I appreciate having me here, and I would love to come back and visit again.
And of course, you're welcome. Last but not least is Cristobal Colon. Tell us about your experience.
Well, first, let me tell you that Marines is my mentor, and she's been my mentor since 9 years. And we still have this kind of relationship as mentee and mentor. And we're having a group of Toastmasters friends that we're planning our future, and we thought that we need to practice more our English. So we decided to let's find a club where we can start. And my home club, Puerto Rico Toastmasters, I think it's one of the best that I've ever seen. But this one is quite good. It's almost as good as my home club. No, but really, I really love this club, and I'm looking forward to being on more meetings here.
Well, we welcome you, as well as all the clubs in Puerto Rico that want to come and participate and visit. You can come as often as you like. You want to join, that's great too. David?
One detail we left hanging was we didn't announce the winners of our daily contests.
Right. Well, I'm going to be turning it over to Caroline to tell us about that.
Thank you, Andy. The winners are Best Evaluator, Jim Barber. Best Table Topic Speaker is Kirtika. Woo! And Best Speaker, Johnny Laidlaw. Hey! Congratulations to the winners. Back to you, Andy.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to call on David, who is our VPE or Vice President of Education, to call out and have people help him identify first and foremost who's going to be the Toastmaster today for next week. So we have